Hey there, my name is Alexis Hartford, and I'm a tax expert here at TurboTax. TurboTax has partnered with Lyft to provide their drivers, like yourself, an easy and educational way in order to file their taxes online. You can do this from the comfort of your own home, or even while you're out and about in between rideshare drives. So in today's webinar, I'm gonna go over a little bit about what self-employed means to you being in the rideshare business. I wanna walk you a little bit through the product and show you how easy it is to enter your information. And then I'm definitely gonna leave time at the end to answer any questions that you all may have. So being a rideshare driver is exciting. It means you're in business for yourself. It means you're self-employed. So some other terms that may go along with self-employed that you might have heard are independent contractor, sole proprietorship, Schedule C. They all mean the same thing. It means you're in business for yourself. So it just means also that you're taxed a little bit differently. You're gonna be filing what's called a Schedule C. And your Schedule C just rolls up to the already filed tax return that you do today. And some of you might already use TurboTax, so it's gonna be a breeze. If you were also a driver for another company other than Lyft, that's okay too, because it all goes on one Schedule C. It doesn't make it any more complicated. TurboTax is gonna walk you through how to add all of your income up together, and we're gonna go ahead and prepare that Schedule C for you. The IRS is just looking for what type of business you're in. So just because you deliver for Amazon and you drive for Lyft, that doesn't matter. You're in the business of driving. So one Schedule C is all that you need. One big advantage of being self-employed is the huge tax write-off, especially that rideshare drivers get. Your biggest one is your car. We're not really gonna get into tax write-offs today. We're gonna cover those in an upcoming webinar in a couple weeks. Being self-employed just means you're taxed a little bit differently. You're not an actual employee of Lyft. What that means is that nobody's withholding taxes out of your paycheck. When you're an employee, your employer typically withholds taxes out of your paycheck. So since you're not an employee of Lyft, you're now self-employed, you're in charge of paying the taxes on your own. But don't worry, I'm here to help and answer any questions that you guys may have. So since you're not an actual employee of Lyft, you're not gonna be receiving a W-2, which is what you would typically get if you were an employee of another company. You're gonna be focusing on what's called your 2018 tax summary, and that is what you receive from Lyft. You can access it from your driver dashboard. So the 2018 tax summary is gonna contain a ton of information that you need to file your taxes. Some other forms that you may receive from Lyft are a 1099-K. A 1099-K is used to report any earnings that you receive while you have a passenger in the car. So it's all the fares that the passenger is paying. Or you might also receive a 1099 MISC. So those are from rider referrals or incentives that you may have picked up by referring some of your friends to drive. So this is what a 2018 tax summary looks like. So up at the top, we do have your driving totals. It tells you exactly how many rides that you have and exactly how many online miles that you have. Down here at the bottom, we've got gross earnings. We've got the ride payments, which are also reported on the 1099-K. And we've got the non-ride earnings, which this is where your rider referrals would come in. Lyft also does a great job at reporting some expenses that you've incurred too while you're doing your rideshare driving. So those are listed down here. So today we're just gonna be focusing on the top portion of your 2018 tax summary, which includes your gross earnings. And then like I said, later in another webinar, we're gonna get into those expenses. Okay, so we've done an overview of what it means to be self-employed and how that affects your actual taxes. Now let's go ahead and jump into the product to show you how easy it actually is. So let's set you up with a checklist first. So for your checklist to prepare for your tax preparation, what you're gonna want is what we had just talked about, your tax summary, and you're gonna access that off of your driver dashboard on the left here where it says tax information. You're also gonna want any 1099 MISCs or 1099-Ks that you received. You should also be able to access those on your tax information portion of your driver dashboard. You want all of your vehicle expenses, that includes the mileage that you drove for the year, and any business expenses that you may have had, including receipts. Okay, so let's just jump right in. So the way that you want to access TurboTax is not going to turbotax.com. going to turbotax.com directly is not going to get you the discount. So you want to actually access TurboTax from the driver dashboard, okay? So when you get into your driver dashboard, on the left-hand side, you're going to see a link that says tax information. That's where your 2018 tax summary is also located. So go ahead and click on tax information, and then you're going to see a screen here that says get special offers. So what you want to do is just click right there on get special offers. So as you can see down here, we have two offerings. We have what's called TurboTax Self-Employed, and we have what's called TurboTax Live Self-Employed. TurboTax Self-Employed is a do-it-yourself software. This is where you go through and you answer questions one by one, and we fill the forms out underneath for you. And the TurboTax Live Self-Employed is where you can actually pay to have a tax expert like myself review your tax return. So if you've previously used TurboTax in the past, go ahead and click on the Sign In button up here, and then just use your username and password and log right in. If this is your first time to TurboTax, welcome. And all you have to do is click Start for Free and set up an account. Easy peasy. Okay, we're ready to get into TurboTax now. So if you've started for free or if you've already signed in, free product as well, we're gonna get into the TurboTax product, and it's gonna walk you through some very, very simple questions just to set up your personal info. I've created a mock return here called Dan the Driver. So Dan went ahead and filled out his name, his social, his birth date. He's a full-time driver, so that's his occupation. His marital status, his mailing address. If he had any children, he would add them here as well. So after Dan the Driver's done filling out all of his personal information, he's gonna wanna put in his Lyft income. So when you get to the income and expenses section, you're gonna see a topic called self-employment income and expenses. Now remember, we're all self-employed here, so we're gonna enter within this topic to add our Lyft income and expenses. Now some of you are returning users, so welcome back. You might already have something under here as far as self-employment income and expenses, so you would just edit what you put in there last year. And the first screen is gonna ask, did you have any self-employment income or expenses? Well, we just went over what it means to be a rideshare driver. You're self-employed, so you wanna go ahead and say yes here. Tell us about the type of self-employment work you do. So this screen, I'm gonna go ahead and put in rideshare driving. The reason I'm not putting in Lyft is because I might work for Amazon Delivery, and remember, if we work for multiple rideshare driving, we wanna put them all on one Schedule C. So we work in the business of rideshare driving. So I'm gonna type in rideshare there and just proceed. So it's just gonna confirm that we worked in rideshare driving, yes. And now what we're doing is we're gonna set up the business, okay? We haven't gotten to income yet, and we're gonna get to expenses later. So for now, we're gonna be setting up the business. So how does your rideshare driving fit into the big picture? Is it just a side job? Is it your main source of income? It definitely depends on how you treat your rideshare driving. Do you have another job? We're gonna go ahead and say that this is a main source of income. Next screen is gonna ask about how long you've worked in rideshare driving. Did you start doing it in 2018? Did you stop doing it in 2018? Or did you start in another year and you just did it all year long? So we're gonna go ahead and select that I didn't start or stop rideshare driving in 2018. Did you pay any employees in 2018? Most of you will say no to this question. And then did you make any payments for your rideshare driving work? So this is if you paid a contractor $600 or more to do work for you. Once again, most of you are gonna say no in this situation. We've got a screen that talks about some less common situations that apply. If you're in the business of rideshare driving, then you did actively participate in your business. So I'm gonna go ahead and select none of these apply. Now here's a summary of our rideshare driving info. Now we haven't gotten to the income and expenses yet. This is just a summary of the setup. So you can go ahead and review everything that you previously entered here, and if you need to, you can edit at any time you want. But if that all looks good, go ahead and click the Looks Good button and let's move on. So our next screen asks us what companies did you do rideshare with in 2018? So the reason we're asking this is because we have an awesome feature here at TurboTax where we can import your tax summary information for you. So that means your income and your expenses can be easily imported. So if you'd like to use that feature, you can go ahead and select on Lyft and then log in with your Lyft credentials, and we'll import everything for you. Today, I'm going to show you how to manually enter it and not go through the import process. So let's go ahead and hit continue. Now we're to the good part. Let's enter your income for rideshare driving work. So as I previously talked about, you might be getting two forms from Lyft. You might be getting a 1099 MISC for rider referrals, or you might be getting the 1099K, which is fees that you've received while you have a passenger in your car riding. If you didn't receive either of those forms, it's definitely okay because there's certain thresholds for when Lyft is required to report those forms to you. So if you didn't get a form, it's no big deal. Just go to your driver dashboard and you're gonna see your earnings down in the middle of your summary, and you can see the information there. So let's go ahead and select 1099K here and hit continue. And we'll just put in 1099K. And let's say you made about $6,700 last year. Very easy. Next, let's go ahead and say that we have a 1099 MISC. So we do have more driving income. We'll go ahead and show you how to add a 1099 MISC in here. So we have one from Lyft. We'll go ahead and put the payer EIN in there, which you'll find on your 1099 MISC. And then your amount should be reported in box 7. So we'll just say that you made $1,203 from rider referrals. Okay, and then do you have any more self-employed income for rideshare driving? So this screen right here is where you would say yes if you did multiple rideshare driving jobs, such as the Amazon delivery. You would add all of your income here for all of your rideshare driving jobs because you're filing one Schedule C. But for this example, let's just say that this person worked for Lyft only. So he's gonna go ahead and say no. And just like that, we're done. Look at how easy that was. So right now, we're gonna go ahead and stop because we're getting to expenses in a later segment, and I'm gonna open it up to questions from you guys. Okay, now that we've talked about what it means to be self-employed, and I've shown you a little bit about the product, we're gonna turn to some questions, and I've got answers for you. So we are going to turn over to Molly. She's gonna be facilitating our questions today.
Okay, first one rolling in. Where can I find the information again if I did not receive a 1099K or a 1099 MISC?
Awesome, Molly. So where can I find information if I didn't receive a 1099K or a 1099 MISC? Well, if you go to your driver dashboard and you click on tax information on the left-hand side, you'll go ahead and see your 2018 tax summary. That's where you're gonna find your number of rides, how many miles you drove, the income, and some expenses down at the bottom. So just remember that the driver dashboard is your friend and you're gonna have a ton of information on there.
So I don't want to owe again next year. How can I make estimated payments?
So one of the things about being self-employed is that you aren't an employee. You're actually working for yourself. So remember, if you're an employee, your employer withholds taxes out of your paycheck. Since you're not an employee of Lyft, you're self-employed and you're responsible for paying all of those taxes at the end of the year. What happens is that you can actually make what's called estimated tax payments. So those are quarterly payments. That means once a quarter, you would pay what you think you would owe at the end of the year to the government. So let me go ahead and show you in product, and TurboTax actually calculates what your estimated tax payments are. So if you click up here on deductions and credits, click on through to a couple screens. You want to jump to a full list. And if you scroll down here to estimated and other taxes paid, you're going to see a topic called estimated tax payments. So if you select this, you can actually go in here and TurboTax will figure out what your quarterly payment should be, and we will go ahead and print the vouchers out for you to mail in with a check, or you can conveniently pay them online at irs.gov, and we'll give you information on how to do that as well.
Oh, look, we have another great question. I am retired and drive for Lyft. I also receive retirement income. How do I report that? Well, your 1040 will capture all of your income, so in addition to your Lyft income, you would report it on the same filing. Alexis is going to show you how to do that in product.
Okay, so we've got Lyft income and we're also retired. No problem. So up here earlier I was showing you how to enter your self-employment income and expenses. All you want to do is scroll down. We have an entire section called Retirement Plans and Social Security. Show more, and if you're collecting Social Security, you would enter it in here. If you have a 401k or you're receiving income from a pension, just go ahead and enter it here. Just as Molly said, remember that you're filing one tax return and you can have multiple different types of income that roll up to your one tax return that you already filed today.
Okay, next question. Hey, I used QuickBooks last year. That's great. QuickBooks is a great product and a way to track all your expenses and your mileage. Can I import?
So if you're a customer of QuickBooks Self-Employed, which, by the way, if you're not, you will get one free year when you access TurboTax Self-Employed through the Lyft offer. If you are a user of QuickBooks Self-Employed, we easily track your income and expenses, and we also have this great feature of tracking your business miles as well, along with your personal miles, since the IRS requires that we track both. So as far as import goes, yes, TurboTax does import all of your income and most of your expenses within the TurboTax Self-Employed product.
I just started driving with Lyft in December to make extra money for the holidays. Do I still get TurboTax for free?
That's an interesting one, Molly, because starting this year, if you've done more than 10 rides, yes, your TurboTax Self-Employed is free.
I heard there's a 20% deduction for being self-employed under the new tax bill. Do I qualify? There are some considerations to this question. Alexis, take it away.
So the new qualified business income deduction, also called the QBI deduction, is new in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. It gives you a 20% deduction for qualified business income. So being a Lyft driver, you're most likely going to qualify for this deduction, but it is going to depend on a few circumstances in your tax return. It depends on how much money you make and what other types of income that you have on your tax return. So make sure that you go through the questions when you're working through TurboTax and answer all of them appropriately, and we're going to go ahead and calculate that new deduction for you.
In the earlier segment of this webinar, you mentioned Amazon delivery. I drive for DoorDash. How do I report this information?
So earlier I was talking about being self-employed means that you're in business for yourself. So you're not just a Lyft driver, you're in the business of driving. So if you drive for Amazon delivery, you drive for DoorDash, you're gonna put all of that on one Schedule C. So if you look back into the product here, I've indicated that we're rideshare driver. You would add all of your rideshare driver here into this one area on one Schedule C.
Oh, this is a good one. I've seen the awesome commercials for TurboTax Live, and I want that assistance this year. Can I get it for free as well?
So TurboTax Live is an offer that we haven't quite talked about yet. Let me go ahead and walk you through that just a little bit. If you're in the product, the free product, and you click up here on Live Tax Advice, for our Lyft driver, we are offering TurboTax Live for half price. What TurboTax Live does is it lets you prepare your actual tax return by yourself, and if you get stuck along the way, you can easily dial a CPA or an EA, tax professional over here at TurboTax, and we'll take a look at your tax return, give you some advice about your tax return, and help you wrap that up and answer any questions that you may have. So while it might not be free, it's half price, so it's a great deal.
Okay, here's one. I am sure I will have questions as I start to prepare my taxes. How does the in-product help work if I don't choose the live option? Is there anyone that can give me advice on what I can deduct, for example?
Okay, so if you don't want to pay for the live tax advice, like we were just talking about in the previous question, there is a lot of in-product help that you can actually use. If you see this little help button up here, go ahead and click on that. We pop open what's called TurboTax Assistant, and you can pop in your question down here. Does that person have a specific question that they'd like answered today?
Can I deduct my cell phone bill?
Okay, awesome. So let's just put in, can I deduct my cell phone? TurboTax Assistant is thinking and answering back to us right now. And then here's some options that pop up as soon as we've asked the question. So if any of these pertain to you, that's great. We also have another feature that you can do, and it's called Answer Exchange. If you pop out to the Answer Exchange, there's a wealth of information out there, and we have awesome TurboTax employees and what are called super users answering tax questions out there. So either way, there's a ton of help within TurboTax, and like we talked about earlier, if you can't get it from the actual product, you can go to TurboTax Live for half price.
Okay, looks like we only have time for one more. Do I send my 1099s along with my tax return?
So how it works through TurboTax is you're going through the actual questions within the product, and we're filling out the tax forms underneath for you. You're not actually physically filling out any tax forms. So as you're answering the questions, we're preparing your entire tax return for you. When you get to the end, you're just gonna press one quick button, and it's called the e-file button, and we're gonna send your information off to the IRS. If there is any documentation that you need to send with your tax return, we're gonna let you know at the end, but a 1099 is not required to be sent into the IRS with your actual tax return. So you don't need a printer if you're only doing driving rideshare income.
And it's also good to note that the IRS will receive a 1099 from the companies that are filed, so they will have that to match up with your income.
And with that being our last question, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I hope that you guys found this helpful with our in-product demo and our live Q&A. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to type them into the search bar or the chat bar. We'll be answering questions after this webinar as well. So thanks for joining, and I'll see you later.